Good evening, Africa and the world. What you are about to hear is not just news, it is history being made before our very eyes. A development so bold, so strategic, and so pan-African that it has left powerful institutions like ECOWAS scrambling and Western financial powers utterly speechless. Today, right here from the heart of the Sahel, Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali, three nations bound by resilience, revolution, and a shared destiny have made a thunderous announcement that will be echoed across boardrooms in Washington. Whispered in economic briefings in Brussels and studied in silence in Paris, they have launched a joint credit card system, a singular financial platform that is the first of its kind on the entire African continent. Let that sink in. Not a loan, not a bailout, not a Western-made financial trap disguised as a partnership, but a sovereign economic weapon homegrown, pan-African, and engineered for African dignity, African growth, and African liberation. This initiative is not merely about credit or cashless systems. It is about reclaiming control of a narrative that has been stolen from our people for decades. It is about reversing the colonial tide that made our currencies weak, our economies dependent, and our futures outsourced to global interests who never believed in the power of the African dream. Tonight, Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali said, no more. No more waiting for the West to approve our ambitions. No more begging for inclusion in a rigged financial system. No more suffering under the weight of monetary colonization. Instead, these courageous nations led by Captain Ibrahim, Colonel Assimi Gota, and General Abdurrahman Tiani have joined forces to unlock a new financial order, one that places sovereignty above sanctions, innovation above intimidation, and unity above exploitation. And let me tell you, the shockwaves have begun. Western diplomats are holding emergency meetings. ECOWAS technocrats are scrambling for explanations. The IMF and World Bank, caught completely off guard, because for decades they never imagined a day would come when African nations could dare to build without borrowing, to trade without fear, and to rise without their permission. But here we are. This joint credit card system, developed in collaboration with indigenous fintech experts, powered by a secure Sahelian blockchain, and integrated directly with a West African gold-backed reserve, is not just a transaction tool. It's a political statement, a symbol of resistance, a direct challenge to the CFA franc and every institution that uses money to chain Africa's future. In a world where economic warfare is the new colonialism, this card is our shield and our spear. But the question is, will the rest of Africa join this financial rebellion? Will Kenya, Ghana, and South Africa look at this moment and see a mirror of their own aspirations? Will the African Union recognize that this is more than a regional project, it is the blueprint of our continental economic emancipation? Only time will tell, but what is certain is this: the Sahel has spoken. The winds of change are no longer whispers, they are roaring. And for every African youth, entrepreneur, farmer, and freedom fighter watching tonight, I say this: the gates of possibility have just swung wide open. So stay with us, because what follows is not just a news report, it is a revolution. I am insert presenter name, and this is Africa Rising Tonight, where we bring you the truth unfiltered, unapologetic, and unafraid. Now, let's dive into the full story.
Welcome to Talk of Africa 360, your source for insightful news, analysis, and thoughtful commentary. If you value informed perspectives and fact-based reporting, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss an update. Disclaimer: the content on this channel is based on reliable public sources and credible online information. It is intended strictly for educational and analytical purposes. We do not promote or endorse political violence, hate speech, or any form of discrimination. Our goal is to inform, not to inflame. Thanks for being here. Let's stay informed together.
Ladies and gentlemen, sons and daughters of the soil, wherever you are watching from across the mighty lands of Africa and the globe, let me be the first to say, Africa has done it again. A page has turned in our economic history, and today, we do not speak of possibilities. We speak of realities, we speak of triumph, we speak of freedom. Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger have shaken the financial pillars of this world, unveiling what the so-called global financial elites thought we would never achieve. Today, the heartbeat of Africa echoes with thunderous pride as these three sovereign nations unveil Africa's first ever joint credit card. Let that sink in. Not backed by France, not backed by the IMF, not regulated by ECOWAS, but birthed by Africa, for Africa. To every African, hear me and hear me clearly. The hour has come to own our wealth. The hour has come to take back what centuries of colonization, economic manipulation, and political betrayal tried to steal from us. I speak today with the fire of 1,000 ancestors burning in my spirit, because what we are witnessing is not just a product launch. It is a revolution, a financial uprising, crafted by the brave hands of patriots who chose courage over compliance. President Captain Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso, Colonel Assimi Goïta of Mali, and General Abdurrahmane Tiani of Niger have ignited a trail of fire that ECOWAS cannot extinguish and the West cannot comprehend. To the skeptics in Washington, to the cynics in Paris, to the silent whispers in London, your confusion is our symphony of victory. Because when you said Africa cannot unite, we did. When you laughed and said Africa cannot innovate, we have. When you said we were beggars, we became builders. The ground beneath you shakes today not because of an earthquake, but because of 3 bold nations saying, "We shall no longer be slaves to your currency." Let this be your call to action, Africans from Cairo to Cape Town, from Lagos to Lusaka. Support this card. Use this card. Believe in this card. It is more than plastic. It is paperless pride. It is financial freedom embossed with Pan-African dignity. The time for waiting is over. The time for asking permission is over. The time for reclaiming our destiny is now. This groundbreaking joint credit card, born out of months of collaboration, encrypted technology, and sovereign will, is the first of its kind in the entire continent. Designed not in Silicon Valley or under the dictation of European banks, but within the fire-forged minds of African technocrats, engineers, and economists. This is not fantasy. This is our reality. The card will function across all 3 countries, using a newly integrated digital currency that links the financial systems of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. No more reliance on the CFA franc. No more begging to move our own money. No more sitting in round tables of betrayal. Today, a young Burkinabe farmer can send payment to a Nigerian mechanic with one swipe. A Malian entrepreneur can process international trade with a regional credit solution that does not ask for Western validation. This is the beginning of an economic fortress built on self-respect and continental cooperation. This is what unity looks like. And do not be deceived, this achievement did not come without resistance. There were cyber attacks, sabotage attempts, and international threats disguised as aid negotiations. There were diplomats who flew in quietly, trying to bribe the visionaries behind this system. But the will of the people, the heartbeat of our ancestors, and the shield of our military protected this dream. We owe this not just to the presidents, but to every citizen who said, "I will die for my nation's freedom if that is what it takes." Imagine the young student in Mali buying ebooks with his own currency. Imagine the mother in Niger paying for her child's medicine with a Pan-African credit card that doesn't rely on Visa or MasterCard. Imagine the businesses in Ouagadougou, Bamako, and Niamey forming an economic triangle stronger than any Western-backed banking system. This is not a dream. This is now. Brothers and sisters, do you remember when they told us our currencies had no value unless the West approved? Do you remember when African leaders were reduced to financial puppets, flying to Europe to beg for budget support? That era is now being buried. Not with tears, but with applause. Not with shame, but with celebration. Let me remind you, the reason ECOWAS is in shock is because this credit card threatens their control. For decades, ECOWAS was not a tool for integration, but for infiltration. It became a relay station for French interests, a financial overseer for the IMF, and a stumbling block to sovereignty. But today, ECOWAS is staring at a new dawn, a dawn it neither predicted nor can stop. The West? Oh, their panic is even louder. You can hear it in the urgent communiques, the sudden travel warnings, the dramatic headlines on global news outlets. They call it a reckless move. They call it financial suicide. But let me ask you, is it suicide to free yourself from chains? Is it reckless to own what you produce? No. It is bold. It is African. It is revolutionary. And this revolution is just beginning. Plans are already underway to expand the credit card system to other sovereign African nations ready to shed the colonial rope. Guinea is watching. Chad is nodding. Togo is preparing. Soon, this triangle will become a circle of liberation encompassing the entire continent. Let us never forget the cost of our silence in the past. Let us never forget the insult of having to pay former colonial masters for administrative services decades after independence. Let us never again tolerate the embarrassment of not having a currency we control. This credit card is a direct challenge to all of that. I call on every African software developer, banker, fintech innovator, and economist. This is your moment. Build around this system. Innovate within it. Bring your talent back home. It is time to reimagine what is possible. I call on every African youth. Stop chasing visas. Chase vision. The future is not in Europe. It is in our soil, in our systems, and in our sovereignty. The launch of this joint credit card is your invitation to dream again. But this time, dream in African currency. To our partners in Asia, Latin America, and the true friends of Africa, we say, come do business with us on our terms. Not through the lens of exploitation, but through the handshake of mutual respect. We are open to trade, to innovation, and to technology. But we are closed to manipulation. To Captain Ibrahim Traoré, Colonel Assimi Goïta, and General Abdurrahmane Tiani, Africa salutes you. History will remember you not just as presidents, but as pathfinders who refuse to kneel. May your bravery echo in the hearts of generations yet unborn. In conclusion, this card is not just a symbol. It is a signal that Africa is awake, that our pride is not for sale, that our economies will no longer be dictated by foreign tongues. The West can no longer ignore us, because we no longer ignore ourselves. The revolution is digital. The revolution is financial. The revolution is now. Rise, Africa, rise. Long live the spirit of Pan-Africanism. Long live economic freedom. Long live the sovereign nations of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger.
As reactions continue to pour in from across the continent, one thing is clear. Africa is demanding respect, sovereignty, and accountability. Was this just a diplomatic misstep or a deeper sign of shifting global alliances? We'll be watching closely. If you found this story important, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more real, unfiltered African news. This is Talk of Africa 360, telling the stories that matter.